Hi, this is a video about why polygamy is bad. Recently, I came across a clip from a documentary where a Swedish person extolled the virtues of marrying multiple women.
In the tradition where they come from, the wife has to do a lot. She needs to serve the man. And it's very hard if you have a few kids. You need to wash, you need to cook, you need to go shopping, everything. Yeah. So actually there are women that like tell their husbands to get a second wife. And where they are like involved to find a good second wife.
Generally, one does not solve the problem of housekeeping difficulties by inviting another person into the bedroom or by establishing another household with the same difficulties, which is what happens in most of these cases, including the family from that documentary. You do not solve a problem by multiplying its cause. Just saying. Adults who make lifestyle choices of their own free will are at liberty to do whatever they want with their lives. But the vast majority of women from these cultures, like the vast majority of women elsewhere, are not polyamorous and do not favor polygamy. Out of 64 polygynous women who participated in a study about polygamy, only 76% agreed with the practice and only 4.6% agreed without any reservations. And we shouldn't dismiss the element of coercion and social pressure involved in getting young women to marry much older men who have families of their own, who have children of their own.
It was Soheila's brother who had started the blood feud by eloping with an old man's wife, the man Soheila would later be forced to marry to avenge her brother's crime. Her brother refuses to let Soheila marry the man she loves.
And now I'm going to try and explain with evidence that polygamy is detrimental to the flourishing of societies, the well-being of the co-wives, their children, and even the husbands. Polygyny fosters intrasexual competition by drastically increasing the number of men without mates, even when there are only a small number of polygynous marriages. Let us take the example of a society with 20 men and 20 women. Let's assume the top 12 men in terms of status marry 12 women initially, and the top 5 of this set then take a second wife, and the top 2 take third wives, and the top man takes a fourth wife. This means 8 men or 40% are left without mates. And some young men, in the absence of opportunities to advance their station in life, and upon being shut out of the mating market, have a tendency to resort to crime. A Harvard study found that being married reduced the probability of committing crimes by 35% in men aged 17 to 32. The relationship between surplus men in a society and crime can be observed in places like India and China, where the sex ratio has been skewed towards men because of female infanticide and family planning policies, respectively. A study published by the Population Council identified a causal link between sex ratios and murder rates in India. The predicted murder rate for a district with the same sex ratio as the state of Kerala, 0.97, is likely to be half of that of a state like Uttar Pradesh, where the sex ratio is 1.12. Research published by the Institute for the Study of Labor found that in China, the unbalanced sex ratio among 16 to 25-year-olds had a large and statistically significant impact on crime. Between 1988 and 2004, criminal offenses increased at a rate of 14% and arrest rates went up 82%. They estimated that the skewed sex ratio may account for up to 1/7 or 14% of the increase in violent and property crimes. A systematic review published by the Journal of Family Studies in 2015 found that children and adolescents from polygynous families suffered from more mental health problems, social problems, and lower academic achievement than their counterparts in monogamous families.
You couldn't share your husband then? No. I couldn't either, just so you know. And Colleen, why don't you?
Like why I'm not living it? Or why I don't want to live it?
Yeah.
Because I don't brain.
But here's where it gets more insidious. A 2014 study entitled Polygynous Contexts, Family Structure, and Infant Mortality in Sub-Saharan Africa concluded that the prevalence of polygyny significantly amplifies the survival disadvantage for infants in polygynous families, but not monogamous ones. In short, babies in polygynous households are more likely to die before completing a single year of existence. Studies reveal that wives in polygamous families experience less marital satisfaction, less self-esteem, and life satisfaction. Mental health issues were also more common in polygamous women, like somatization, obsessive compulsive disorder, interpersonal sensitivity, depression, hostility, and psychoticism. And the first wives in these families show more anxiety, paranoid ideation, and psychoticism than succeeding wives. The prevalence of these issues has led to a new culture-specific psychiatric diagnosis called the first wife syndrome. For women who suffer from this condition, the initial reaction upon being informed of their husband's remarriage is severe in the form of nervous breakdowns, emotional upsets, or outbursts of anger. An ethnographic review of 69 polygynous systems found that while cowives cooperated for pragmatic reasons, there is a recurrent motive of strident cowife hostility, and that women's sexual desires and reproductive interests were the most important factors in promoting this conflict.
Villagers awoke to the screams of Rose Wanjiru, who sat over the body of her co-wife Milka.
Even the husbands have it bad under polygamy. A study found an association between the number of wives and heart disease, and the researchers speculate that this could be brought on by the financial strain and emotional expense of having to maintain multiple households.
یه زنی داشتم بهترین ماشین زیر پام الان می بهترین خونه داشتم حالا همون 4 تا ورده 4 تا یخچال میخوام 4 تا خونه میخوام روز زد برزدی هم چی هم که بسونی خراب میکنه.
And the worst for the last.
What I've learned during my years working with people from different countries is that you have to be very respectful over for different cultures, because in every culture there is something that is better than in your culture.
Not true. The argument being put forth is that we must respect the entirety of a culture because it has some good aspects. Well, the Nazis were vehemently opposed to the class system.
Meine Kameraden, nach Ihrem Befehl, mein Führer, steht hier eine Jugend, die keine Klasse und keine Kaste kennt.
Does this mean we have to respect Nazi culture? I'm not suggesting that any present-day cultures are the equivalent of Nazism. I'm just taking this argument to its logical conclusion, and it fails miserably.